Nathan Cole woke at 2:13 in the morning to the sound of tree branches scraping across his second-floor window, even though the nearest tree had been 426 feet away when he went to bed. The sound dragged slowly across the glass. Scratch. Pause. Scratch. He lay still beneath the quilt, watching the red numbers on the clock and trying to call it rain, but the October sky was clear and the air outside was windless. Across the hall, his 14-year-old daughter, Lily, whispered, "Dad." Nathan found her standing in her doorway in a gray sweatshirt, her face pale. "Did you hear it?" she asked. "Probably an animal on the roof. Animals do not scrape a window from the outside." The sound stopped. Then something heavy shifted across the yard below, not like footsteps, but like roots being dragged through soil. Nathan felt the vibration through the floorboards. He went downstairs, checked the locks, and switched on the porch light. The dead field behind the house shone silver under the moon. Beyond it, the forest formed a dark wall. Nathan stared longer than he intended. It seemed closer. 3 weeks earlier, after Rebecca's funeral, a lawyer had told him that his wife had quietly purchased the Coldwater Ridge property through a trust and left it to him. Nathan had lived in the house as a child, but most of those years existed in his mind as disconnected rooms, unfamiliar roads, and dreams he could never finish. Rebecca had known he hated the place. She had also written one sentence in the will: "Take Lily there, and stay until you remember." Nathan had come because the house could be sold only after 30 days of occupancy. He had told Lily they were starting over. In truth, he wanted the money and a place where nobody knew the questions surrounding Jacob's disappearance. "The branches touched my window," Lily said behind him. "You heard something on the siding. There are marks on the glass." Nathan shut off the porch light. "We will check in the morning." There is nothing to explain. A deep crack rolled across the field. One tree at the forest edge leaned forward and lowered itself into the grass. It made no impact, no rush of branches. No sound at all. Lily gripped his sleeve. "You saw that?" It was an old tree. It did not fall like one. Nathan closed the curtain and sent her upstairs. He remained awake until sunrise. At 7:30, they carried a measuring tape, a survey map, and Nathan's handheld rangefinder into the back field. The county survey, completed 1 month earlier, placed the forest 426 feet from the rear foundation. Nathan aimed the device at the nearest standing trunk. The display read 387 feet. He measured twice more. The number did not change. 39 feet, Lily said. That is how far it moved. The surveyor may have used another point. The map says the rear foundation. Forests grow. Lily stared at him. Not overnight. The silent fallen tree lay between the old line and the new one. Its roots still seemed buried, yet no path marked where the trunk had crossed the field. Beneath a low branch, Lily found a small red toy truck. A white scratch crossed its hood, and one back wheel was missing. Nathan recognized it before she brushed away the dirt. Jacob had carried that truck during the family camping trip 3 years earlier, the night he vanished in Allegheny National Forest. Nathan snatched it from Lily. "Where did you get this?" "It was under the tree." "Did you bring it from the house?" "No." "Turn it over." The letters J and C were scratched into the plastic. Nathan's chest tightened. A lot of children own red trucks. Jacob carved those letters. "It was 3 years ago. I do not remember every toy. You remember this one." Nathan closed his hand around it. "Go inside." Lily did not move. "You told everyone Jacob got lost." Nathan looked toward the trees. He did. A single bird cried from deep in the forest. Every trunk along the new edge shuddered at once. Nathan carried the truck into the basement and locked it inside a metal toolbox beneath the stairs. That evening, he closed every curtain and checked every lock. At 2:06 the next morning, Lily woke him. A boy-sized figure stood at the forest line, holding an amber lantern. His face was hidden beneath a dark hood. Lily pressed her hand to the window. "Jacob." The figure raised one finger to his lips, then pointed directly at Nathan. The lantern went dark. 7 minutes later, Nathan's phone began recording by itself. He found the file at dawn. His own voice spoke from the speaker, calm and unmistakable. Jacob did not get lost. Nathan played the recording 6 times before accepting that the voice was his. There was no breath before the sentence and no background sound. Only the calm correction. Jacob did not get lost. He deleted the file. 10 seconds later, it returned. He shut down the phone and locked it in a drawer. Downstairs, the unplugged kitchen radio clicked on. Static filled the room, followed by the same sentence in Nathan's voice. Lily stood behind him, already dressed. What does it mean? Somebody is interfering with the electronics. Who? There is nobody here. She looked toward the basement. Where is Jacob's truck? Nathan kept his face still. What truck? Her expression hardened. You hid it. I put it somewhere safe. Safe from me, or safe from the truth. Lily reached for the wall phone. Nathan stopped her. Who are you calling? The police. Deputies cannot investigate trees. They can investigate you. At 8:20 that morning, Deputy Claire Bennett arrived in a county cruiser. She was 34, with brown hair tied behind her neck and the careful manner of someone who listened for what people avoided saying. Nathan remembered her from Rebecca's funeral. Claire had stood beside Lily while Nathan remained across the room, unable to look at the photographs of his wife. Claire measured the forest from the rear foundation. 387 feet. The survey says 426, she said. Then the survey is wrong. It was filed last month. Lily showed her a photograph of the red truck. Claire studied the scratch letters. Rebecca showed me this after Jacob disappeared. Many children had trucks like that, Nathan said. Why are you trying so hard to make everything ordinary? Because it is ordinary. Claire wrote the sentence in her notebook. Tell me what happened the night Jacob disappeared. We were camping. He wandered away. After dark. Rebecca said you heard him calling. Rebecca was grieving. She believed you found him and left him. Nathan's jaw tightened. She was not thinking clearly. Claire closed the notebook. I am going to retrieve the original emergency records. I will return before 2 in the morning. A pickup truck entered the driveway before she reached her cruiser. The driver was an elderly man with silver hair, a narrow face, and a brown canvas coat. He introduced himself as Walter Finch and walked directly to the survey stake. How many lies since sunrise? He asked. Nathan told him to leave. Walter ignored him. The forest does not move because it wants your land. It moves because someone inside that house keeps widening the distance between what happened and what gets said. Lily looked at Nathan. Walter pointed toward the trees. Every trunk marks something a family chose not to remember. Claire asked how he knew. 50 years ago, those trees came from my family. My house stood on the road beyond them until the road disappeared. Nathan looked toward the woods. There is no road there. Not anymore. Walter explained that the forest did not punish dishonesty. It corrected imbalance. When a truth was removed from the world, the trees closed the space around the person who had changed it. The closer the lie came to being exposed, the faster the forest moved. Then why did it move last night? Lily asked. It moves between 2:06 and 2:13, Walter said. It listens all day. At night, it measures the distance between the truth and the story. Walter stayed through the afternoon, placing white stakes along the tree line. Claire returned at 1:50 in the morning with a case folder and a second rangefinder. At 2:06, hundreds of birds burst from the forest in a single dark cloud. The ground gave a low groan. No trunk bent. No branch shifted. The empty field simply became smaller. Claire aimed the rangefinder. 341 feet. 46 feet closer. Lily whispered. It moved because of what he said. Nathan turned on her. I did not lie. The nearest trees trembled. Claire called dispatch, but her radio returned only static. And Nathan's recorded voice. A metallic snap sounded inside the house. Nathan ran to the basement. The toolbox stood open. The red truck was gone. Lily called from the yard. A dark blue jacket hung over the fence, moving in the still air. It was the jacket Jacob had worn during the camping trip. Lily reached into its pocket and removed Rebecca's wedding ring. Nathan had last seen the ring among her belongings after she died. Claire stared at him. Walter looked toward an amber light between the trunks. It is returning the story one piece at a time, he said. From a heating vent inside the house came the faint voice of a boy. Dad did not mean to leave me. He just chose not to come back. The boy's voice rose through the heating vent again, thinner now, as though it had traveled beneath miles of earth. He heard me calling. Lily stood beside the fence with Rebecca's ring in her palm. Claire moved toward the house, but Walter stopped her. Do not answer a voice when the forest is listening. It may be wearing someone you remember. Nathan stared at the amber light. The hooded boy stood just beyond the new tree line, waiting. Jacob, Nathan called. Walter warned him not to use the name, but Nathan was already crossing the field. The cold deepened as he approached the trees. Behind him, Lily shouted, and Claire called for him to stop. He did not turn. The boy raised the lantern and entered the forest. Nathan followed. The moment he passed between the first trunks, the house vanished. He turned and found only trees packed beneath a steel-colored sky. The lantern hovered 20 feet ahead. The boy pointed deeper into the woods. Pale strips of fabric hung from branches without wind. Nathan recognized part of Rebecca's camping blanket and the sleeve of Jacob's blue sleeping shirt. When he reached for them, they crumbled before his fingers touched them. A branch snapped behind him. Lily stood on the path, breathing hard. "Why did you follow me?" Nathan demanded. "Because you were not coming back. You need to leave. There is no way out." The opening behind them had filled with scarred trunks. Nathan told her to stay close. Lily gave him a bitter look. "That is what you told Jacob." The lantern flared. The forest disappeared, and Nathan stood beside a campfire 3 years earlier. Rebecca folded blankets near the tent. Jacob sat opposite Nathan with the red truck in his lap, his face tight with anger. "You are leaving us," Jacob said. Nathan heard himself answer that the matter was between him and Rebecca. Rebecca turned. "He deserves the truth." The vision vanished. Nathan could still remember Rebecca beside the fire, but the sound of her voice was gone. He knew he had loved it. He could no longer hear it in his mind. "The light takes something," he told Lily. The lantern boy continued down the path. Each time the lantern brightened, another memory appeared. Jacob found a private message on Nathan's phone. The message was from a woman Nathan had planned to build a new life with after leaving the marriage. Jacob threatened to show Rebecca. Nathan insisted the marriage had ended long before he admitted it. Rebecca cried. Jacob threw the red truck into the dirt and ran into the trees. Night replaced the campsite. Rebecca called their son's name. Nathan stood at the forest edge with a flashlight. "Somewhere in the darkness," Jacob answered. "Dad, I am over here." Nathan took one step forward, then stopped. The vision broke apart. He staggered against a tree. Lily caught his arm. "You heard him." "I was afraid." "Of the forest?" Nathan could not answer. Another memory had vanished. He knew Rebecca's birthday came in spring, but the date was gone. When he tried to picture her face, only her eyes remained clear. The lantern boy waited at a narrow ravine. His light reached through the fog and revealed Jacob's wristwatch on a flat stone below. Nathan stepped toward the slope. The lantern brightened again. Jacob was trapped beneath a rocky ledge, close enough for Nathan to see his raised hand. "Dad, I cannot climb out. Please do not leave." Nathan saw himself standing above him with a phone in his pocket. Rebecca's voice echoed through the distant trees. Jacob reached up. Nathan turned away. "I am getting help," he called. The memory ended. Lily stared at him with tears on her cheeks. "You left him there." "I went for help." "Did you?" "I do not remember." "That is not the same as no." Nathan looked at the watch below. A path descended along the ravine, but the fog moved across it like water. He grabbed Lily's hand. "We are leaving. The watch is proof. It may be bait. Or Jacob may still be here. I will not lose you two." The lantern boy did not follow as Nathan forced a path back through the trees. The forest opened a narrow corridor and released them beneath the same moonlit sky. Claire and Walter insisted that only minutes had passed, but Nathan's phone had advanced by 9 hours. That night, he found a wedding photograph in the bedroom. He knew the woman beside him was Rebecca. He knew she had been Lily's mother. He could no longer recognize her face. Lily appeared with her sketchbook. "I saw the boy clearly," she said. Nathan asked whether it was Jacob. She opened the book. The hooded child had Nathan's eyes, Nathan's narrow jaw, and the small scar above Nathan's left eyebrow. "It was you," Lily said. "You were about 8 years old." The face in Lily's sketch belonged to a childhood Nathan could not fully remember. Before he could answer her, Walter spoke from the hallway. "That is the age you were when the trees came the first time." He entered with a weathered cardboard box. Claire followed, carrying the official folder from the station. Walter placed faded photographs across the bed. The first showed the same house 33 years earlier, with Nathan's father beside an old pickup and Nathan's mother standing between two boys. Nathan recognized himself at 8. The smaller child wore a red knit cap and held his hand. "Who was that?" Nathan asked. "Your brother," Walter said. "His name was Eli." Nathan laughed once, without humor. "I never had a brother." The house answered with a low vibration beneath the floor. A second photograph showed Nathan and Eli near the forest. The trees stood much closer to the house than they did in the earlier picture. Walter opened an old county report. Nathan's parents had reported Eli missing on October 28, 1992. Their statement claimed he wandered into the woods before dawn. Claire read the final page. The report was marked resolved the next morning. It says Eli was found and transferred to relatives in Ohio, but there is no address, no receiving agency, and no second officer's signature. Walter said the sheriff had closed the road and helped Nathan's parents leave before sunset. Nathan asked why none of it appeared in his records. Claire explained that his transfer paperwork listed him as an only child and that the missing person file had been sealed under an order that should never have applied. Lily looked at Nathan. Just like Jacob, your family changed the story until nobody could find what was missing. That is not the same, Nathan said. The clock changed to 2:06. The window glass clicked. Outside, the forest leaned toward the house. Claire measured from the back foundation. 214 feet. Walter warned Nathan to choose every word carefully. Nathan demanded to know what happened to Eli. Walter said Nathan had followed the lantern boy into the woods after being promised buried treasure. Eli followed to bring him home. When the forest closed around them, their parents could hear both boys, but the trees offered to release only one. Nathan's father chose him. In exchange, the family surrendered Eli's place in their memories and repeated a new story until it replaced the truth. Nathan pressed his hands against the dresser. I would remember my own brother. The walls groaned. An image flashed through his mind. Moonlight on wet leaves, a smaller hand inside his, and a red cap moving through the dark. Walter pointed to Lily's drawing. The lantern boy is not a ghost. He is the part of you that remembered. The forest kept that part when it let the rest of you go. Claire removed a telephone transcript from the current case folder. The first call had been placed at 11:48 on the night Jacob vanished. Nathan reported that his son had fallen near a ravine and could not climb out. 13 minutes later, Nathan called again and canceled the rescue request, claiming Jacob had returned safely to camp. The organized search did not begin until morning because the emergency had been officially withdrawn. Nathan's hands shook. I do not remember making the second call. Claire held his gaze. That does not mean you did not make it. A sharp wooden crack came from the basement. They ran downstairs. 3 pale trunks had risen through the concrete around the open toolbox. Their roots curved around the red truck. Nathan stepped closer. A child's voice came from inside the nearest tree. You did it again. The lantern appeared beyond the basement window. For the first time, the hooded boy lowered his hood. He had Nathan's childhood face, but his eyes carried decades of waiting. The amber glow passed through the wall, making the concrete transparent. Another boy stood on the far side wearing a red knit cap. Lily whispered Eli's name. The sight pulled a memory from Nathan. He heard his father speaking from beyond the trees 33 years earlier. One child can still come home. Then Jacob's voice overlapped it, calling from the ravine. Nathan understood that his son's disappearance had not begun 3 years ago. It had begun when Nathan was 8 and learned that a family could survive anything by choosing the right person to forget. Claire raised the rangefinder again. The display flickered between 214 feet and 96. Walter looked at the clock. It is 2:08, he said. The forest is accelerating. At 2:10, the nearest trunk stood 24 feet from the rear foundation. At 2:11, the trees reached the porch. Branches pressed softly against the siding, tracing the walls while the basement windows darkened behind rising trunks. The house groaned from end to end. Claire said they needed to leave, but Walter warned that the road would no longer lead away. Nathan watched the lantern boy standing beside Eli beyond the transparent wall. The amber light pulsed, and the basement became the ravine from 3 years earlier. Nathan stood above Jacob with a flashlight in one hand and his phone in the other. The drop was no more than 15 feet. Exposed roots crossed the slope, and a narrow path curved around the rocks. Jacob was frightened but alive. Dad, my foot is stuck. Please stay. Nathan saw the message glowing on his phone, the one Jacob had read at the campsite. It came from the woman Nathan intended to leave Rebecca for. Jacob had threatened to show his mother. Nathan remembered the panic he felt, not for his son, but for the life waiting at camp. Rebecca would learn the truth. Lily would learn it. Everyone who believed Nathan was dependable would see the person he had hidden. I am going to get help, he told Jacob. You already have a phone. There is no signal here. That was the first lie. Nathan climbed to the ridge, found a signal, and called emergency services. He reported the fall. Then he heard Rebecca calling Jacob from another part of the forest. Nathan imagined the questions that would follow after the rescue. He imagined losing his marriage, his home, and the version of himself other people respected. 13 minutes later, he called back. I found him. He is safe at camp. Cancel the search. That was the second lie. When Nathan returned to the ravine, Jacob was gone. Nathan called until Rebecca found him. He told her their son had run away after the argument and that he had never located him. He repeated that story to deputies, volunteers, reporters, and finally to himself. The basement returned. Lily stood several feet away, waiting. You found him, she said. Nathan looked at the floor. Yes. He was alive. Yes. You canceled the rescue because you were afraid he would expose you. Nathan closed his eyes. Yes. Lily's voice became quieter. You chose your secret. I chose myself. A thick root passed through the basement wall, as if the concrete were mist. Walter told Nathan to say everything, without shaping the truth to make forgiveness easier. The lantern brightened. Rebecca appeared in the basement doorway as she had looked during the camping trip. Nathan could not hear her voice, but he understood the words formed by her lips. Tell Lily why I sent you here. Claire explained that Rebecca had found the emergency transcript 6 months before her death. She wanted Jacob found more than she wanted Nathan punished. She traced the property's history, learned about Eli, and quietly bought the house back through a trust. She discovered that the forest had released Nathan only after his family surrendered the memory of the child left behind. Nathan finally understood Rebecca's will. She had brought him back to the one place where his false story could not survive. The trees pressed against every window. Claire's rangefinder read 0. Nathan faced Lily. I heard Jacob. I knew where he was. I could have stayed with him. I left because I was afraid he would tell the truth about me. Then I canceled the rescue and lied because I wanted to protect the life I thought I deserved. Your mother spent her final months forcing the truth back into the world. I blamed darkness, fear, confusion, and the forest. None of them made my choice. I did. The root stopped. The lantern boy pointed toward Nathan's chest. Walter whispered that the forest had named its payment. Nathan assumed it wanted his life. Walter shook his head. It does not want your body. It wants the story that allowed you to live without Jacob. A smaller figure appeared behind Eli. Jacob wore the same blue jacket and held one hand close to his chest. Lily stepped forward, but Walter stopped her. Jacob's voice passed through the wall, clear and close. It does not want you, Dad. Nathan approached the transparent concrete. It rippled like dark water. Jacob looked directly at him. It wants the part of you that remembers me. Nathan stepped through the basement wall and felt the house disappear behind him. Lily and Claire followed while Walter remained at the boundary, one hand pressed against the transparent concrete to keep the passage open. On the other side, the forest stretched beneath a starless sky. The lantern boy led them along a path between white trees marked with names, dates, and fragments of missing truth. Nathan saw the name Eli Cole carved into one trunk. Farther on, Jacob Cole appeared beside the words, he was still calling. Jacob waited in a clearing. He was 13, exactly as he had been during the camping trip. His blue jacket was clean, and the watch on his wrist remained frozen at 11:48. Lily stopped as if she had forgotten how to breathe. Jacob, he looked at her, confusion becoming recognition. You got taller. She crossed the clearing and held him. Jacob asked how long he had been gone. Lily could not answer. It has only been 3 days, he said. Nathan understood that the forest preserved time the same way it preserved truth, holding both outside the world until somebody accepted them. The lantern boy stood between Nathan and his children. Up close, his face was Nathan's at 8, but his eyes contained the memories Nathan had surrendered. Eli waited behind him in the red cap. Nathan asked whether his brother could return too. Walter's voice reached them from the distant boundary. The forest cannot return what time has already taken. Eli was not a living child trapped for 33 years. He was the truth of a child whose existence had been erased. He approached Nathan and held out his hand. When their fingers touched, Nathan remembered leading Eli into the trees. He remembered the promise of buried treasure, the path closing, and Eli finding an opening back to the house. He remembered their parents calling. He remembered his father saying only one child could come through. Eli pushed Nathan toward the opening and released his hand. The next morning, their mother removed every photograph of Eli and repeated that Nathan had always been an only child. Eli smiled, not with forgiveness, but with recognition. He stepped beside the tree bearing his name. Its bark opened into pale light, and he walked through without turning. The lantern boy lifted his light toward Jacob. Memories appeared around Nathan like open rooms. Rebecca laughing in the kitchen, Lily asleep against his shoulder during a long drive, Jacob learning to ride a bicycle, Eli holding his hand, and his father teaching him to hide fear beneath certainty. Nathan understood the price. The lie about Jacob had not remained separate from his life. It had grown through every memory that helped him believe he was innocent. The forest could not remove the false story without taking the structure built around it. "Will I know them?" Nathan asked. The lantern boy shook his head. Lily released Jacob and ran to her father. "There must be another way." Nathan looked at her, trying to memorize her face. "I spent 3 years choosing another way. You can live with the truth now. Jacob cannot live here while I prove that." Lily gripped his coat. "You are still our father." Nathan placed his hand over hers. "That is why the choice must be mine this time." He turned to Jacob. "I am sorry I left you." Jacob's eyes filled, but his voice remained steady. "I waited for you. Every night. I thought the next light would be yours." Nathan stepped beneath the lantern. The amber glow passed through him without pain. Rebecca's face returned first, clear and familiar, then vanished. Her voice followed. Then her birthday, the day they met, Lily's birth, Jacob's first word, Eli's red cap, and his mother's hands. One by one, the memories rose into the lantern as points of light. Lily called his name, but it became distant. Nathan held the shape of her face until the meaning of daughter disappeared. The final memory showed Jacob at the ravine, reaching upward. This time Nathan reached down. Their hands met, and white light filled the clearing. Claire pulled Lily and Jacob toward the path as the trees retreated. The lantern boy stepped into Nathan like a reflection returning to its source, carrying away the memories Nathan had offered. Nathan opened his eyes in the basement at sunrise. The concrete floor was whole. The nearest tree stood 426 feet from the house. Jacob sat beside Lily on the stairs beneath a blanket. Walter stood at the window, quietly crying. Nathan looked at them with polite confusion. "Is this my house?" Months later, Jacob and Lily visited him at a memory care facility outside Pittsburgh. Nathan did not recognize them, but he always invited them to sit. Jacob placed the red toy truck in his hand. Nathan turned it over and studied the scratched letters. "Did I leave someone in the woods?" he asked. Jacob looked at Lily, then at the man who had paid for the truth by losing every reason it mattered. "You brought him home," he said. That night, Nathan woke at 2:13 to an amber glow beyond his window. A boy stood across the parking lot holding a lantern. The boy had Jacob's face. Nathan watched as the nearest tree, which had stood beside the road at sunset, lowered one silent branch against the glass.